Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving into a major development in the ongoing conflict between Ukraine and Russia, a conflict that continues to reshape the geopolitical landscape of Eastern Europe and fuel global debates about security, sovereignty, and military strategy. Recently, Ukraine launched a targeted strike on a key Russian bridge, an action that has sparked intense discussion among military analysts, political experts, and ordinary citizens on both sides. This strike wasn't random. It was part of a calculated effort to disrupt Russian supply lines, hinder troop movements, and weaken logistical support in contested regions. Bridges, especially those connecting vital territories, play an essential role in the movement of heavy artillery, armored vehicles, ammunition, and fuel. By targeting such infrastructure, Ukraine aims to increase pressure on Russian operations and possibly slow down or complicate future advances. Russian media sources have reported significant damage, though conflicting narratives always emerge in times of war. According to early reports, the bridge was not just symbolic, but strategically valuable, connecting military logistics from mainland Russia to occupied territories. Ukraine's move shows confidence in its growing long-range strike capabilities, assisted by modern technology, intelligence sharing, and improved surveillance systems. It also reflects a shift in tactics. Instead of engaging heavily armored forces head-on, Ukraine has increasingly relied on precision strikes to methodically break down Russian supply chains. This approach minimizes Ukrainian casualties while maximizing disruption. Military experts point out that when supply routes are compromised, even well-equipped armies begin to struggle. Fuel shortages, delayed reinforcements, and limited ammunition can lead to operational stagnation. These are exactly the vulnerabilities Ukraine hopes to exploit. Russia, meanwhile, has vowed to repair the damage swiftly and strengthen air defenses in critical areas. But rapid restoration is easier said than done, especially under threat of repeated strikes. The timing of this attack is also noteworthy. Political pressure on both sides is growing, and winter conditions are approaching. Winter warfare introduces a unique set of challenges: frozen fuel systems, mechanical failures, and the intense energy demands required to keep soldiers warm. By hitting infrastructure before winter sets in, Ukraine may be attempting to weaken Russian mobility when environmental conditions are least forgiving. Furthermore, there are broader psychological effects. Damaging a major bridge sends a message not just to military planners, but to the Russian public. It reminds them that infrastructure once thought secure can indeed be reached. Ukrainian morale, on the other hand, often rises from such successful operations, especially when facing waves of missile strikes on their own cities. Public sentiment matters during wartime, and leaders on both sides monitor it closely. Reactions from international observers have been mixed, but generally supportive of Ukraine's right to defend its territory. Some Western officials view the strike as a strategically sound move, applauding Ukraine's ability to identify weaknesses in Russian logistics. Others warn that escalating attacks on major infrastructure could push the conflict into more aggressive retaliation cycles, increasing risks for civilians. Russia has already suggested that such actions justify broader defensive operations, although defining what is purely defensive has become increasingly complicated as the conflict evolves. Still, this latest strike highlights the growing sophistication of Ukraine's military capabilities. Many analysts believe that improvements in targeting, reconnaissance, and aerial navigation have been fueled by international assistance and training. However, Ukrainian officials maintain that decision-making remains firmly independent and focused on national survival and territorial integrity. The impact on the ground will likely become clearer over time. Bridges are difficult to replace quickly, especially when they support heavy vehicle traffic. Repair crews must operate under the constant risk of incoming fire, and any attempt at reinforcement consumes manpower and materials that could otherwise support frontline operations. Meanwhile, Russia may be forced to reroute some supplies through longer, less efficient pathways. This increases fuel costs, delays delivery of critical equipment, and strains logistics planners. Every extra kilometer traveled adds to the overall burden, and wars are often won or lost based on supply efficiency. Ukraine understands this lesson well. It has studied historical examples where cutting off rail lines and bridges led to the collapse of larger, more heavily armed opponents. This focus on infrastructure disruption seems to be becoming a centerpiece of their strategy. It's also important to consider the propaganda dimension. Both sides are heavily invested in shaping narratives that influence international opinion. Ukraine presents the strike as a defensive operation aimed at weakening an invading force. Russian officials portray it as an attack on vital civilian infrastructure, hoping to frame Ukraine as reckless and aggressive. The truth often becomes tangled in layers of messaging, selective evidence, and emotional appeals. Social media amplifies these narratives instantly, allowing millions to form opinions before official investigations conclude. As global audiences follow along, support, funding, and diplomatic pressure can shift. For Ukraine, maintaining sympathy and support from Western nations remains crucial. For Russia, convincing its allies that it is being victimized helps sustain its own military and political partnerships. Looking forward, this strike raises several questions about what comes next. Could we see more attacks on infrastructure deep inside Russian-controlled territory? How will Russia respond? And could these operations influence future peace negotiations? Analysts speculate that Ukraine may continue focusing on bridges, railways, command centers, and supply depots to systematically erode Russia's logistical confidence. Russia, on the other hand, might increase drone surveillance, deploy additional air defense systems, or try to fortify threatened zones with temporary pontoon bridges, though these are vulnerable to repeated strikes. This dynamic becomes a dangerous game of move and countermove. Each decision carries political consequences, military risks, and potential humanitarian outcomes. Civilians often find themselves in the crossfire when infrastructure collapses, losing access to transportation, food deliveries, or medical evacuations. The international community continues to call for de-escalation, but both nations appear committed to pushing forward. Ukraine believes that sustained pressure is necessary to reclaim territories and deter future aggression. Russia insists that its objectives are justified and that any interference only prolongs the conflict. As negotiations remain stalled, battlefield developments like this bridge strike grow increasingly significant. Every successful operation has the potential to shift leverage at the diplomatic table. If Ukraine can demonstrate consistent disruption of Russian logistics, it may secure stronger positions in future talks. Conversely, if Russia manages rapid reconstruction and punitive retaliation, Ukraine's gains might diminish. The unpredictability of modern warfare makes predictions difficult. But what is certain is that infrastructure strikes will remain a key feature of this conflict. In the end, this event reminds us that wars are not only fought through direct confrontation, but through strategic disruption, economic pressure, and psychological influence. Bridges carry more than vehicles. They carry symbolic weight, national pride, and the logistical lifeblood of armies. Ukraine's decision to target a key Russian bridge reinforces the idea that controlling movement is central to controlling outcomes. As we continue watching developments unfold, the world will be paying close attention to how both sides adapt, reinforce, and retaliate. Thank you for watching and for supporting the channel. Make sure to like, comment your thoughts below, and subscribe for more updates and analysis on global events. Stay informed, stay safe, and I'll see you in the next video.